the Manchester Business Association. Cindy Luce is Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Bennington County. John Watanabe is does property management and is a member of the Design Advisory Board. And Leon Ward is a designer and developer and is the Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. So the airport road parcel that we're discussing is roughly 60.15 acres. It is mostly wooded. I will note that even though the property is called the airport road property, the airfield is not currently active. We do not land planes there, although at one time there have been planes. It's mainly used now. There's a parcel on the property that is utilized by the Land Rover Driving School. 6.8 acres of the property are subject to conservation, meaning it will not be developed. That was part of a process that happened when the track was built at the rec department. That 6.8 acres was transferred to the airport road property. It's zoned MU2, mixed use 2, which means one dwelling per 4,000 square feet. It allows for single, double, and multi-family homes and has a 12,000 square foot minimum lot size, or about 1/4 of an acre. For those of you that are interested in seeing it from the view, the red circle is actually the space that we're talking about. You can see that it actually cuts through a portion of the actual airstrip. The property adjoining that just to the north is the Levis family. So that is just the basic overview. And if you guys bear with me, this is the first time we've held a meeting with this new system here at the library. So we are testing it for the first time, trying to make sure everyone can hear. And I need to get ready. All right, so the next thing on the agenda actually is actually a presentation by DEW. DEW is one of the folks who have given us a proposal, and we're going to have a presentation. One person is going to be speaking through Zoom, and 2 people are here to present in person. So let me bring up Zoom so you can all see. And I believe we're going to start on Zoom, correct?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Great. You let me know when you are ready for me to start.
Go for it.
So my name is Don Wells. I'm the president and founder, I should say, chairman of the board and founder of DEW Construction and founder of DEW Properties. I'm going to make probably a 5-7 minute presentation. It's more just why we approached this the way that we did and why we think it's the right way to do it. And then we're going to open it up for discussions. With me, I'm going to have Pam and Robbie introduce themselves. They're sitting in the next to the front aisle, I think.
Good evening. I'm Robert Wells. I will be the property development coordinator in charge of the day-to-day activities for the development, keeping the development on track, making sure that everything is coordinated with the town and the communication never stops.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Moreau. I'm the general counsel of DEW Properties and DEW Construction. I have a deep background in land development, permitting, zoning, contract drafting, and I also do all of the construction legal work. So I draft contracts, I resolve disputes. So I handle, I work at both arms of the company so that we can have a smooth transition when we have the development team moving into the construction part of the project.
Yeah, I would just add, I work every day with Pam and Robbie, and we really are the nucleus of getting things done on the property side. There are others that are involved as needed, such as estimating and engineers and people of that sort. So I'm just going to give you a little bit about DEW. I think our proposal shows the depth of our organization and our experience. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that. For those of you who haven't seen what we presented, it's on the website, I understand. So as I said, I'm the founder and chairman of the board. We started DEW about 28 years ago. We currently have about 140 employees. Our annual volume on the construction side is around 180 million. We're headquartered in Williston, Vermont. We have offices in Keene, New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire, and Portland, Maine. And as of late, we have been doing a tremendous amount of housing projects. There's more housing being built in the market than ever has been, and I think the demand is greater than it's ever been. On the construction side right now, we have 650 units that we're in the process of building. Those are in Williamstown, Mass, Lee, Mass, Killington, Vermont, Lebanon, New Hampshire, North Conway, New Hampshire, and Shelburne, Vermont. And on the development side, we just finished a project in White River Junction. We'll be starting one in Barry next spring. And we've got a bunch of them that are in kind of the same process that this project is going to go through. That means that includes 51 units in Rutland, around 80 units in Waterbury, Vermont, 30 units in Johnson, and 30 units in Stowe. And then there's a big project in Lebanon, New Hampshire, that's a couple hundred units. And then there's Bellows Falls, 40 units. So we are very used to making these projects work, whether we're the developer, whether we're working for other developers, we know how to get it done. Any questions about that before I talk about our approach and why we've done it the way we've done it? No? Okay,
I had a question for you.
okay,
Can you hear me okay?
yes.
If you're covering this many projects at once,
Well,
does it-
we have, as I said, we have 140 employees.
Okay,
So we're a good size organization for Vermont. We are the second largest contractor in Vermont. But we are experts at housing. The two things that we do the most, well, the three areas we do the most work in is housing, medical, and education. And so it's not easy when you have good, it's not hard to do a good job when you have good people around you. And we are very talented people that work with us once, want to come back for the next one. So I'm proud of that as I sit here.
you answered my question. Thank you.
So our approach and why this approach. You know, we didn't say specifically what we were going to build, other than that we were going to meet the goals of the community, which would include, workforce, affordable, market rate, and hopefully a little commercial space. The reason we didn't say exactly how many units of each or get into those kinds of specifics is we deeply believe that the market studies, the public input, and all of the things that we'll do during our period of due diligence will dictate what we should be building and why. And we need to get information to share it with everybody within the town and all the stakeholders to get your buy-in and show you that we did our due diligence. We know that this is the way this project should be done. It's definitely going to be phased. How the infrastructure works with that phasing will be critical. This is a big project. There's a lot of moving parts. And for me to think I could tell you today exactly what we think we should build, I'm not comfortable doing that, because I know if I did, it would change and it wouldn't be the same. And people are going to be asking, well, why'd you say that? So we like to take the approach that we think works the best. It's proven. We've used it time and time again, and that is do market studies, look at the phasing, put pro formas together, show the town and this building committee how it's going to work, or housing task force, how it's going to work and why we've structured it that way. And this is the way it's going to be phased. You're going to need appraisals from your lenders or for your lenders. You're going to need the underwriting for the lenders. They're going to require these market studies and all these things to be done before they're going to get behind some major project and agree to put in millions of dollars of infrastructure before maybe you put a shovel in the ground for a building, or maybe they go together. But all of that has to be put together in a very systematic way. And that's what we are suggesting and think it's the right way to move forward. We've teamed with some people that help us in this whole process. The workforce and the affordable housing, you're going to need to get LIHTC credits, and there's 9% LIHTC, there's 4% LIHTC. There's grants and programs of special funding. Nonprofits are the people that are going to get that. We will not get that as a for-profit developer. Those funds almost always go to the nonprofits. Rare that it doesn't go to a nonprofit. And we know how to get that funding, and we've teamed with the right people to do that. Probably that portion of the project will probably be funded by VHFA for the construction and takeout loan. So I think this is the right approach to show you success, and there'll be results that are the same as what your expectations are. We've teamed with Cornerstone, who is a large nonprofit in that region. Their information is within the package we sent you. We're working with Engineering Ventures as the civil engineer. We've worked with them on multiple projects over the years. We're doing a couple other development projects with them now. We would work with Goldstone Architects, at least for the apartment buildings, which would be the affordable and in market rate. In workforce. We might work with them on market rate. We've got Hardy Engineering, who we work with all the time. We think they are the best structural engineer in Vermont, and they always find the most competitive way to put things together. And then we will have DEW Construction be the construction manager, who is doing tons of work in the region, lots of housing. And they will be a good partner for the city. More consultants will be required. We'll probably have to do traffic studies. There's going to be borings. We're going to have an architectural landscape architect. So there'll be other people hired, but we wanted to make sure we could secure the key people. And we think that those people are key to making it happen, and we'll hire the other ones if we're selected. We didn't talk about the contribution to the town. My thoughts are, and the reason I didn't want to put it in writing is that we really need to do this due diligence to come back to you and say, this is how it's going to work. But the contribution will be over time. The land will get paid for as we build out the different phases. And I think that the different projects, you probably would look at $15,000 to $35,000 per piece of property, or per unit, that would go back to the town. And the multifamily would be the lower 15 to 20,000 per unit. The triplex and the duplexes would probably be in the 20 to 25,000 per unit. And the single family lots could be 25 and up. They could be even more than 35. And the commercial, we don't know what that represents now. Who the entities might be that are looking for commercial space. So I think that's to be determined, but you would expect to get a payment for that land also. So, our team has the resources in place. The people are sitting within our organization. They're on our teams of experts, and we stand ready to put our expertise to work to solve this. And we're extremely excited about the project. It's a pleasure to be talking with you all right now. And I can assure you that we will find the right solution to make this project work. It's what we're really, really, really good at. And these things are not easy. I think to get the funding for the affordable and the workforce, we can get the funding, but you're not going to build 100 units in one funding source. You're probably going to build 40. And then you're going to wait 2 years to get another 40 or so. That's just the way that that funding is being allocated through the state and through the federal government. So, and you build phases around that. That's the way it would work. I'm going to just say that, some other things I could say, but I think it'll come out maybe during the question and answer. Our people are seasoned. We've been down this road many, many times, as I said, for ourselves on our own developments. But, all those units that we're developing, 2/3 of them are for other developers. So we're the builder only on some of those. We're building the one we're doing in Lebanon right now. We just built 250 units. We just started a second phase of 206 units. And that's for a developer out of Boston called Saxon Development. So we work well with developers and we work well as a developer. So that's kind of a summary of my thoughts and why I think that what we've suggested as an approach makes sense, not only for us, but for you. It takes a lot of the risk out of the project for the town. This is a big, big decision for the town. And you want to know that it's well thought out and it's well put together and that it makes a lot of sense. And all the checks and balances have been done to show that this is the right development, the phasing's right, and to get a lot of expert opinions about how to do that. And that's what we bring to the table. Thank you.
All right,
No.
thank you. So I want to open up, I do see a hand on Zoom. We're going to start with the Housing Task Force. If anyone has any questions for DEW, if you can, please use that mic that's right there. You can take it off there you go. Should be on, I think.
Hello? Do you do renewable energy when you build your home? Do you?
Yeah, I can barely hear you, but I think the question was, do we utilize renewable energy sources?
Yes. Yes, that's the question.
Yeah, if you're familiar, we do. And if you're familiar with the standards that are required for Vermont housing and also for any of this LIHTC funding, it's really rigorous. We have to pressure test every single unit for air infiltration and get readings that pass the inspections. We use solar. We've used ground source water systems. So, it depends on the project, but we have experience in all those. We've done a bunch of LEED Gold. We have done at the Putney School. We did the first, what's it called? Pam, the one that Bill McClay does. Anyway, we've done it all. I'll think of the name of it in a minute. He wrote a book, actually. Bill McClay is an architect out of Warren, and it's net zero. We built a net zero gymnasium for a school, and it also was LEED Platinum. It was the first project like that in the nation. So we have a ton of experience, and we could send you a whole list of all of our experience in that regard, which we'd be happy to do.
Okay, because the state has mandates and,
Yeah, we meet all those and
you know.
go beyond on almost all of our projects.
Energy. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep.
What's ballpark, what's the square foot price for if you were to do a single family house, 1,000 square feet, 900,000 square foot, all in, not including the property, but what's a ballpark square foot price for a house in that range?
Well, I guess it depends on what type of a house you're talking about. But, you know, the lower ends would probably be 275, and they could go up from there anywhere, depending on what you want within the house. So, you know, we don't do a lot of single family homes. We did a project on Marble Island on Lake Champlain, and we were the developer. We built the bigger buildings, and we had some other people build the single family homes. And, you know, it may make sense for us to partner with some of the local builders right in town. I think that could be a way to make this work even better. So they have the expertise of all the local subs that work on the smaller projects. And they have one or two people maybe as a subcontractor. But I don't know if that answers your question, but you know, as we sat and looked at the proposals and read all of the proposals, we sat there and said, you know, it may make sense for us to reach out, not only to see if the other proposers would be interested in seeing if there's some synergy, but also reach out to some other local builders. We certainly would do that in any regard if we were selected as a developer. So, but what I think, you know, the most important part of this thing up front is to put all of this together in a package that you're going to be able to get financing for. And you can't just build, you know, 100 feet of road at a time. You're going to have to go in and build some substantial infrastructure, and you're going to have to fund that. And the funding agencies, the banks are going to have to believe in your plan, or you're not going to get this funded, and it won't move forward. And that's what I think, you know, we bring that to the table, and we bring to the table building the larger units. And, you know, we have done triplexes and duplexes and a few single family homes, but those are not what we normally do. We did do a project in Quechee that was a bunch of triplexes, and that was for Evernorth, and which is a nonprofit that is involved with almost every project in the state of Vermont. So,
And does a 275 ballpark number, does that include infrastructure, or is that just the house? That would be the house, correct?
that would be the house.
No infrastructure included in that.
Well, you know, there'd be some infrastructure, but it's too early to tell that right now, because,
Right.
you know, it's like you're asking us to say we're going to plop this house where. Is it going to be the first one on the road, or is it going to be way in the back? And we don't really have that planned out yet and figured out the best way to develop this site, but there will be infrastructure costs that's required. And, you know, the market rate is the toughest ones to make the numbers work. And you got to find creative solutions to do it. And we will find that. We'll find the best way to do it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So I just want to clarify what you're saying. Are you saying that you are thinking only that these are going to be multifamily units? Are they all going to be rentals or are some of them going to be homeownership?
We're going to look at all of the above. You know, I think there will be some single family lots, quite a few. I think there may be some duplexes and some triplexes. And then I think there'll be, you know, larger buildings that have upwards from 30 to 42 units. And there'll be a mix. There'll be some affordable, there'll be some workforce, there'll be some market rate. When you think about what workforce and affordable means, it isn't what you're thinking. It's not Section 8 housing. It's your firemen, your teachers, your nurses. There's a lot of people that fall into that slot that you would never think would. And we'd be happy to share more about that with you, but those are the people that you're around all the time throughout the community. Hardworking people that have great jobs but they still fall in that workforce income criteria.
Understanding that you have due diligence to do, is it possible to shorten that length of due diligence instead of it being an 18-month period, perhaps like a 12-month period?
We can shorten it, and we always get asked this, and we're more than willing to do that. But I guess it depends on how quickly we can get consensus that what we're proposing makes sense, and that we don't have to go back and change it a number of times. And different towns are different than other towns, and the same thing with school boards or whatever. How many times are you going to go through this before everybody says, yes, this is what we want, and this makes sense, and we can sell this to the public? So the answer is yes, we can shorten it. But 12 months go by pretty fast. By the time you get a marketing study done, you have public hearings, you get some design work done. The engineers are going to have to lay out the roads. They're going to have to figure out where the housing goes. We're going to have a concept drawing that everybody can understand. Otherwise, you're never going to get buy-in. So 12 months is pretty quick.
Appreciate your time and effort on the proposal and time spent here tonight. What do you visualize as the number of workforce units in this development?
I don't know exactly what the numbers are going to be. That's what the market study is going to tell us. And that, as I said, the market study is going to be required for any bank to get on board. They're going to want to know what you're going to build is what is needed, and they can't underwrite it without having the proper information. They're going to need the appraisal for every unit. They're going to need the appraisal of the land for each unit. It's a very involved process. So, unless somebody comes in and has tons of money and just says, I'm just going to put tons of money towards this, and maybe not require a bank, but I don't know that anybody would do that. We certainly wouldn't. We're going to want to do the due diligence with the proper expertise and make sure that we have something that is bankable. And that the phasing is understood, and that the infrastructure for each phase is understood, what the cost is for each phase. And, you may have to have a situation where, some of the cost for the upfront infrastructure is borne up front, maybe, this is a maybe, and then people get some of that money back as you do the last couple phases. That's happened before. So, as I said, there's a lot of moving parts as to how this thing goes together and how you make it so that it's a viable project.
The number of phases that you speak about, I assume those are phases related to years. Do you have a sense of time frame there? That would be for a full build out?
Yeah, my guess is that you're gonna be here, 6 to maybe 8, 9 years, depending on how the phasing is and what the funding cycle is and what happens in the economy and, are we gonna have another downturn in the economy and things go on hold for 2 years and nothing happens and, but it's not 3 or 4 years. It's, probably closer to 7 or 8 would be my guess as I sit here.
Now, I'm gonna say that I understand what you're saying about this taking many years to complete because of funding, because of grants. That all makes complete sense to me. And it seems to me also that adding a bunch of houses all at once, opening up, it adds a lot of traffic all at once.
Well, you could never get that funded. Nobody's going to agree for you to build.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now but doing this in phases to where a section opens up and then a section up a few years later, that helps the town ease into this.
Yeah, you've got to show success, some movement, and then people will come and, getting that first one off the ground is going to be critical. And I think the affordable workforce, that component will be critical to that first phase. And in that first phase, there may very well be some market rate, single family, duplexes, those kinds of things. But I think having one of those bigger buildings, 40 units or so, in that first phase will be critical to the success.
That's where I'm going with this. Where I'm going with this is, I'm speaking for myself here, not the whole board. But for me, to be on board with something, with development, it has to have a percentage of that workforce housing. And I mean low income to workforce, not just, $300,000 houses, but also like, $150,000 houses. Now, and that cost will be offset by higher end development built within on the same property. It's almost like taxing the rich to help the poor, so you build a nicer house, charge more for that, and you use the profit from that to build the lower income house to help the people we want to help. Because as a housing task force, I feel that we're trying to help people who can't afford to live here. As a teacher, you mentioned teachers and firemen. The pay isn't really high enough for a $300,000 to $400,000 house. That's still a struggle.
Yeah, that's true.
So, as a member of the force here, I'd like to see is a plan that gets that square footage price below the 200 mark for the lower income houses. And that's the only thing I gotta say about that. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just say that any of the housing that is considered affordable or workforce, the credits that are getting and the grants that are achieved, make it so that those rents are extremely low and extremely viable. And I think the income in Manchester is quite high, but I think it's also kind of skewed by the the people that make a lot of money. So when you average it, it looks like it's a very, very high income. But the people that work for the town driving the dump trucks or as a fireman, whatever it is, those are the people that you're gonna see in the affordable and the workforce, and that's where the demand is, and those are the ones that are struggling the most.
Yeah, and I will back that up. About roughly 20% of our public school employees live in the town of Manchester.
Yeah.
We have, I believe, one member of our public services that lives in Manchester, and only a few of our town employees. So we definitely feel that. A couple quick questions. What do you see as the biggest challenge as you look at this particular property compared to other projects that you may have worked on in the state of Vermont? What do you see as the biggest challenge?
I think that the site is reasonably steep, or too steep almost in some areas. So the development's going to be more concentrated, but maybe you, up on the higher part, you put in a dirt road and you get some single family lots and you do something that's really unique up there. The unique challenges, I don't see anything that scares me. I think that the key here is to look at it, think about it, have enough time to really analyze it, get your experts, your engineers and your other consultants in the room. And you know, we would have probably monthly meetings with the group saying, this is what we're doing, this is how we're moving forward, this is what we're thinking. Is there anything that's running astray here? Are we good? Are we focused? You know, we're doing that with 3 or 4 other communities right now. So I think the infrastructure, because it's, you know, it's a big site. We just looked at a 69-acre site in Colchester, Vermont. It was to put 600 units on it, just under 600, 579 or something like that, Robbie? Right?
Yeah, you
So-
said 565.
Okay. And, you know, the infrastructure for that was, you know, $12 million. So you take that and divide it by the number of units, you got to build a lot of units. I think this infrastructure will be less, but it's not going to be half. So it just depends on how many units we build and how much we want to stretch this out over the whole 60 acres here. I think this will be more concentrated than that project I was just talking about, but infrastructure can be very, very costly. And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about the roads, the sewer, the water, the electrical. You don't have natural gas down there, right? No, right?
No.
Yeah. But that infrastructure, you know, the streetscape, where is there sidewalks, where are there not sidewalks? How's the lighting? What are we gonna do for public amenities? Is there gonna be swimming pools? Are there gonna be tennis courts? You know, what is there gonna be? And that's all, to me, part of infrastructure. So, so a lot of, I hate to keep saying it, but a lot of time and attention needs to be paid to make sure that this is well thought out. You can't just go in and blast in some roads and start putting in little lots and hoping that you have something that's desirable in the end. So you're not going to get through all of the permitting process without having all your engineering done. All, you know, where does the stormwater go? Is there a storm system? Or where are the retention basins? All of those things are going to need to be figured out. So,
All right. Thank you.
is there plenty of water pressure for sprinkler systems in buildings? Do we know?
Pretty good water pressure here in town, so I think we're
That's
good on
good.
that end.
Good.
Yeah.
It
So
gets
we
real
have-
expensive if you have to start putting in storage tanks and booster pumps.
Sure. So we don't have anything more from the task force. I'm going to go through the folks on Zoom or anyone else in the room that may have questions in the last few minutes here. I just ask that you state your name when you speak, and also please keep your question to 3 minutes. Thank you. First up is Steve Nichols.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
I have several questions, and I think probably just get them out there in comments and then respond if you would. First of all, the key to this community, and I'm sure the task force, and Jonathan, thank you for putting this together. You guys have done a great job. And is the cost that someone is going to rent or own these facilities. And that's what the town, I'm sure, is looking for. What is your goal and what are your profits? What are you going to gain out of this? And I would advise the town to go into an agreement when you have what you have stated not together yet, the town is going before they make a decision of who to select for a developer, they're going to want to know that information up front before they make a decision, surely, I hope. And my concern is management after. We don't want something to turn out like Willow Park and Applegate that's managed by the Shires / Cornerstone. There's a lot of trouble down there, and that we don't want there. That's one thing. And the average rental, in talking to folks in Manchester of your people that you've labeled from the task force, and you've labeled farmers, retail, etc., anything over $1,800 rent a month is a real struggle for folks. And anybody who is willing to own, etc., is around $2,000 a month mortgage. Now, the state defines subsidized housing, affordable housing, workforce housing. They break it down, and you are absolutely correct. With a median income in Manchester, it drives that low income by the wealthier incomes that work from home. Thank you, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, to answer your question about profit, I don't know how much profit we're going to make yet. We haven't done any pro formas. We don't know how many different types of buildings we're going to build. As far as the rental income, when you get the LIHTC credits and you apply those for the workforce and affordable, they'll meet the goal that you just said, that 1,700. That's not a problem. It's going to be really tough to build any market rate house and have the payment be $2,000 a month unless there's some subsidies. So those are the things that we've got to find and get them in our quiver, if you will. But we don't have them now. I can't tell you that we're going to get them right now. I think we will. What's the timing? What's the phasing? But all of the things that you're concerned about is what we would want to address in our final presentation and whatever is approved. All this public comment, whether it's from you or anybody else, we're going to want to take that into consideration and provide you answers when we have the answer. I don't have it right now. And for somebody to say that they had it now, I wouldn't believe them, because I don't know how they would have it.
Well, I appreciate that. And with the final presentation and the questions that I have, these are not just my questions. There's
Yep.
some that I have asked as well. So
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I hope that answered your question, but
We have Christine. You can
Yes,
please identify yourself.
Yes, hello, this is Martin White. My wife is Christine Michael, that's her name. We own a duplex at 3195 Richville, where we have owned it for about 8 years. The rents we have, it's our granddaughter living there, are $850 and $750. And so my perspective on this is, this proposal is an absolute destruction of all of the housing in the area and most of it is not high income people in the area. It's if you drive around, it's a pretty amazing part of Manchester that really exemplifies working people in a town that would have their lives absolutely destroyed by this scale, this kind of housing development, which uses phrases like affordable and workforce, but which are really at the bottom of the priority. So I stand as somebody who we're interested always in housing and the crisis there, but this seems the exact opposite of that to solve it. And the last part is, there's supposed to be climate goals, I believe, in Vermont. And this kind of project with all of the excavators, the construction would blow a whole wide. I can't imagine how this would pass any kind of Act 250 or any kind of environmental review. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
well, I would just say I'm not worried about getting Act 250 or environmental, because these things happen all the time. And, everybody that traveled down a road to get to where you are tonight or the building that you're sitting in to have this meeting, it all had to be built by a contractor. And, yeah, there's a mess before it gets better. But in the end, you've got something that is usable and it serves the public. And that's the same way I look at this housing. There's a housing crisis, and it's mostly in the workforce and affordable. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this is I want to help solve it. And I don't think this would ruin the area or the neighborhood. But I think the town has decided that they want to do this. And, if they have local people that are not in favor of it, then I don't know how this is going to be approved or voted for by the town to move forward. But that's not me that can answer that question for you. If you've got that kind of a concern, I think it's more of you in the town, not me as the developer. Although, we would answer those questions after we do our due diligence. But so I think that answers the question.
Thank you. Do you want to come up? Can you come up to the mic, please? We have just a few more minutes for questions. No one else is on Zoom, so anyone in the audience, please come to the mic and identify yourself.
Just a couple of quick questions. One is,
Can you just
do
say
you
your
have
name
a
quick?
minimum, do you have a minimum
Sorry,
number?
can you just say your name real quick?
Carl Buckhold. Do you have a minimum number of units that you need to be involved? And I'm also curious, you've looked at the site. Do you think there's a minimum or maximum number of units that's suitable for that site?
Well, I think you could build a lot more units on that site than what we will build. If there's 60 acres and you could build, the 12,000 square feet per, it's almost that's 240 units. Whether we build that many or not, I'm not sure, but you're not going to build just 30 units. You're going to build 150 to 300 units. And maybe there's some opportunity for some commercial development on I think it's the far west side of the site, if I recall. When I looked at it on the sheet, it was on the left-hand side. I think there might be an opportunity for that from a different street. But I think you're gonna need to have quite a few units in order to pay for the infrastructure and to make it a viable project. So it's not a small amount. Now, if you subdivided it and said, hey, DEW can take this 10 acres and develop it and put your multifamily units there, that would be another way the town could look at it. But I would want to make sure whatever we do that we maintain reasonable control. And by that, I mean is I wouldn't want to be at the mercy of somebody else, maybe dictating how or when we might do our development. So, does that answer your question? I hope so. But it's quite a few units.
What was do you have a minimum number that you need?
Well, I mean, I think that the minimum number that we would want to do a workforce or affordable apartment complex is 32 units in one building, probably. And you could do as many as 48 or 50, but it's all going to depend on the funding source. What's happened with the LIHTC funding and the funds that are available within the state of Vermont. They used to have 7 projects a year approved, and now it's about half that, about 3.5 projects. And so what's happening is their funding sources are saying, we don't want you to build 48 units. We want you to build 32 so that we can fund more projects and spread the wealth, so to speak. So that's why I think 32 is probably the minimum.
Okay, anyone else? We have one more question. Please just state your name.
Jonathan Grant. I'd just like to know, have you ever built LEED certified workforce housing?
I couldn't understand, I couldn't hear the question, sorry.
Have you ever built LEED certified workforce housing?
Trying to think of which, LEED is no longer being done. It's more of what's the code that Vermont requires. It's more stringent than LEED even, so
Yeah, the
it's easier.
Residential Building Energy Standard,
Yes,
RBES.
yeah. We build to those standards all the time. We have to for all of these affordable units.
Have you built to the stretch version of that standard?
Robbie, was the project that we did in White River the stretch version?
The project we did in White River followed the high performance track of the RBA.
Thank you.
All
Yeah.
right, looking at the clock, we're coming up on 7 o'clock. I just wanted to briefly just state kind of the process that we're in now. I didn't state that at the beginning. The Housing Task Force is an advisory board that was formed by the Select Board. This version of the Housing Task Force was joined with members of each of the boards or commissions in the town of Manchester. So you have a representative from the Select Board, the Planning Commission, the DRB. We happen to have a member of the DAB as well as members of the community and nonprofit sector. So we span sort of the entire spectrum of both the municipal and local government, local entities. The role that we've been given, or what we've been charged with, is to review these RFPs and make a recommendation to the Select Board in any direction. And that ultimately will drive the next phase of the process. We do not have any power to approve or reject any of these plans. We are simply making a recommendation to the Select Board. So,
Yeah, I think we understood that, and I just would like to state one last time that I really think the process here is the key to your success. Whether you select us or somebody else, you've got to select somebody that really understands how to put this together and have a process that's accountable and is going to, when you get ready to put something forth, the funding's going to be there and the due diligence will have been done. So, do you know the timing for the recommendation?
So our goal is to, obviously we have this meeting today. A week from today, we will have the other two presentations. Whether or not we will have a consensus at that meeting, because we'll be having, originally we were having two presentations today and then one on the following meeting,
Right.
so we would have time for discussion. But my guess is that we would have it before the end of the month.
Okay. That's certainly fair enough time. That's pretty fast. That's good. That's great. So, if we were selected, how big is the group that we would be working with to have our monthly meetings and get input and then figure out how we're going to take things to the public and the timing and how we have this unfold to the public?
I think that's a great question. And I don't have the answer to that yet.
Okay.
So the Select Board ultimately is the decision maker on the property.
Yeah.
Or moving forward with the RFP.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
in
what we
terms of- I would assume that this Housing Task Force would have some part of that process.
Yeah.
As well as other folks that may have interest in the property.
Yeah, we're willing to work however you would like, as long as, it's a process that doesn't get bogged down. That's all, I guess, is maybe the way to say it.
I will say we've been talking about affordable housing in Manchester for over 40 years. So this is the closest that we've been to making that happen in my lifetime. And I am.
Well, I think if you want somebody that's really experienced about getting affordable housing done in the state of Vermont, we're sitting here. So,
All right.
we would
Thank
love
you
to
very
be,
much for your time. I
we would
really
love to be a
appreciate
part
it.
of this, and we'll wait to hear back from you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Again, we have another meeting next week at the same time, 6 to
Yep.
7 o'clock right here. Thank you, everyone, for being present today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.